Hi, I thought I'd make a video reviewing a couple of books that I read recently, and maybe I'll review books from time to time or make it a regular thing, because I've read a lot of books, and maybe people would like to hear this random guy's opinion on some books. But I don't really read a lot of fiction, and the fiction that I do read is usually like some philosophical fiction. Dostoevsky, stuff like that. But other than that, I read a variety of other kinds of books that maybe you'd want to hear about. So, first book is Why Gary Why. It's by Jody Pleshay, I think is how you say his last name. And it's about his father, Gary. It's about a set of circumstances. When he was a young man in the 80s, he was abducted by a trusted friend of the family, his karate instructor. And during that time, he had been abused for about a year leading up to the abduction, sexually abused by his karate instructor. And then one day he was abducted, taken from, I think, Texas to California. And when they were caught, his abductor was brought back to Texas, where his father, Jody's father, Gary, waited at the airport armed. And you may have seen the video clip. It's kind of famous, where he turned around. He was tucked into a phone booth talking to a friend of his, and then he turned around and shot the man who had abducted his son in the head, killing him. So this is the story of Jody and the abduction, the sexual abuse, what he was going through in from his experience at the time, and the aftermath of everything. It's very informative from a victim's point of view. It's a very quick read. I read this in 2 afternoons of just casual reading. I wasn't trying to chew through it or anything, but it's very consumable, very relatable. It's well written in the sense that you're not talked down to at all. There's nothing in this that's going to be complex. It's like having a conversation with someone that you know just casually. The one thing that wasn't so much in this story that I was hoping to have some insight on was Gary, the father, some of his perspective. Because I haven't ever seen anything about that. I know he was really angry at the man. It was a friend. It was someone he had grown to be close with, abducting his son, finding out that the man had been sexually abusing his son for like over a year. But I would like to have known a little bit more from Gary's perspective, and that's not really present in the book. He didn't seem to have that kind of relationship with his son Jody to where he would have told him very much about how he felt. So that's missing from the book, and probably missing from the young man's life too. He's an adult now, but I think he's probably about my age. But it's well worth reading, and I got this on Amazon. You can find it probably just about anywhere, and there's a good section in here too, several very short chapters late in the book, giving advice to parents on how to protect their kids and how to sort of spot things that maybe you might not take note of that maybe you should in another person. I've always felt like if someone has more of an interest in my kids than I do, that's a warning sign. There should be no one on earth more interested in my children than me. No one on earth should be more interested in children than their own parents. And that message is pretty good in this. That's something that they definitely didn't pick up on. If your karate instructor wants to spend special time with your kid, your swim instructor, whatever, that's not saying they're all bad. That's not saying the Boy Scouts are all bad, etc., but you as a parent need to be on top of that. No one is protecting your kid when they're little, just you. So that's a good message from this book. The other book that I read recently Hate Incorporated by Matt Taibbi. Matt Taibbi was and may still be a journalist. He worked for mainstream media, I believe NBC, MSNBC, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But he was a member of mainstream media. He wrote this book from the perspective of someone who had been inside of the media machine, someone who knew how you are being lied to, how you are being manipulated, how they can take falsehoods and even truth and twist it toward you to make you think and feel and behave in certain ways. And having Sean Hannity and Rachel Maddow on the cover, the point of that being is these two were big figureheads just a few years ago in what are basically lies. Just big stories to manipulate you into believing that you should be mad about things, you should get behind things, you should take a side, when journalists should just tell you what's happening and that's it. That's it. The whole job should be, hey, there was a car crash and somebody, got hurt. Somebody went to the hospital. Not, hey, there was a car crash and we suspect that the mayor's political leanings caused them to paint the lines in the road a certain way, and now we should all be mad about the left or the right, which is kind of how things go. So that's a sort of a silly example that I'm just making up. But anyway, that's the point of his book, is to show that right-leaning media is just getting you ramped up and angry. Left-leaning media is doing exactly the same thing with the opposite hope for result. Neither of these concepts are media. They're all propagandists. The one heavy criticism, there's a couple heavy criticisms I would have on this book. One of them is Matt Taibbi is very liberal, and it comes through in his writing very strongly, to the point that I laughed at certain points in this book. It actually made me laugh. I'm not liberal or conservative, not that it matters, but I'm somewhere in between. I may currently be more conservative than I used to be, but I think that's the case for a lot of thinking people currently. Regardless, his heavy-handed liberal thinking in this very much comes through. And it's ironic because he's writing about how media is not being non-biased, a book about trying to be non-biased, how that's the right thing to do while showing your biases, is kind of funny. But the other criticism I would say is probably about 80% of this book, just a random page, this paragraph is one sentence long. The following paragraph is 2 sentences long. The next one is 1 sentence long. The next one is 1 sentence long. The next one is 1 sentence long, and the next, and the next, and the next. They're 1 sentence long paragraphs. This is throughout 80% of the book. I don't know. Matt Taibbi is a journalist, so he is a communicator by trade. He is a writer by trade. Why he has written a book that is almost an assault on the senses to read. It's like getting jabbed in the eye while you're trying to read, because every paragraph is 1 or 2 sentences long, rarely 3 sentences long, until you get to about the 80% mark, where there's a notable change, a noteworthy change from very short clipped paragraphs to actual composed writing. And I think the first 80% of this book was maybe a blog, the format was maybe an online format, to where he was trying to get quick, almost headline messages through, boom, 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 boom. And then when he realized, hey, I have enough material here and it's interesting, I could write a book. Then he started writing the last 20% of the book, which is well-written, more well-rounded. It's more critical of the left than the first 80% of the book. It's a little more balanced. I'm not looking for a book critical of the left, but a book about balance should have at least an attempt at being balanced. The quality of writing gets a lot better in the last 20% of the book. So I think that's probably when he realized, hey, I can make this into a book. But I would say he should have gone back with a good editor and reformatted the first 80% of this book, and it would probably be a much thinner book had he done that, because the paragraphs would be compressed. But it's a very good book. It's well worth reading. There's some good humor in it and some good storytelling from very recent history about the media and politics.